I always view business like art, and if I'm really in God's lane of who He called me to be, I'm painting. And so painting to me is using my creativity to start a business or to add on to a business or to grow a business.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Daron Earlewine podcast. I believe this is episode 65. They are clicking right on week after week. Thanks for downloading this episode, whether it be on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, wherever you download your podcasts. And if you take some time to make sure you subscribe to the channel and or leave us a review, it makes such a big difference for us and allows us to reach so many more people through the podcast. So thank you so much for downloading. Sitting down today with my good friend Scott Wolfrum. Scott, welcome to this podcast.
Oh, thank you.
We are walking through the fivefold giftings as we're getting ready for this launch of Spiritual DNA 2.0, Scott. And we're going to sit down today and just unpack the calling and the role of an apostle pioneer. And I've gotten the joy of walking side by side with you over the past 5-6 years, really, of you kind of stepping into and really owning this sense of calling that God has in your life to be an apostle pioneer. And I'm so grateful that you're going to sit down and let us kind of do a little workshop here, a little science project to figure out how you stepped into becoming who you were born to be.
Sounds good.
So Scott, we're in our studio audience. There's no audience. Our studio here in our office, which is actually your office as a part of Wolfram Capital. You've allowed us to. It was about actually just over 3 years ago. I can't.
Has it been that long?
We've been freeloading off to you for 3 years now. So.
Wow.
But it's crazy. We were in a discipleship huddle together.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you saying, hey, listen, I don't think you can run this nonprofit out of your house anymore. Like, we've got an extra office we're not using right now. Come check it out. Walked up here, walked in for about 30 seconds. I was like, we'll see you Monday.
It was me holding you accountable.
That's
what it was.
Hey, listen, it's been a game changer for our ministry and everything we've done. And then pandemic hit. We lost, the part of our ministry. We had the radio show, and we decided to launch the Daron Earlewine podcast. And we said, Scott, we paint the walls and create a studio in your offices. And you were like, absolutely, whatever you want to do. And so your generosity and your belief in what we do ministry-wise has been so empowering. And so we can't say thank you enough. And just thanks for joining us and having this conversation.
Well, you guys have been a blessing to us too, so it goes both ways.
Well, Scott, you are created by God to be an apostle pioneer, and we're gonna to unpack that in more of its definition here in a minute. But let's go early in life, because we really believe that God's created us on purpose and for a purpose from beginning. And a lot of the calling and the talents that we have to fulfill that calling, it's not something you get like when you get a college degree. I believe it's in you from the beginning. As you look back on your childhood, and maybe teen years, whatever, where's the first kind of more pioneering apostolic venture you can see? It maybe a business you started, or a paper route, or something that where you sensed like that you were driven to found something, to kind of launch out and be a pioneer.
That's a good question. I would say that I don't know that it was an early on business formation, but it felt always like I should run my own show. I always, and it's probably almost something I inherited, not just from the Lord, but my family genetics too. We had, my family owned a beer wholesaler, and I loved kind of just working in and for my dad and my granddad, and so that I just saw the benefits of, what you could make a difference in people's lives all over the place. And so I just kind of thought that's who I was going to be way back when.
Yeah.
So
I think it's interesting though, because there could have been, somebody else, like you don't have a brother, but like, you could have had a brother that was completely made differently, that would have seen the business environment and been like, no, like not my jam. Like, I don't see it as something that I'm inspired or find energy from. But from you, when you saw it, you said, yeah, I see how this works and I could do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was always very curious about all aspects of a business, whether it was sales or, operations, literally to driving a fork truck or a beer truck, but how my dad bought beer and we needed so much on hand. I mean, so I wanted to understand the finance of it. I wanted to, all aspects of the business. I wanted to
And when you saw that, was it, I mean, even as a teenager, was it something where did you find yourself critically kind of watching it and seeing how it could go better, worse? I mean, did you get into the granular side of things that way?
Yeah, I mean, there were things, I mean, like all of us, there was things that I know my dad did well that would have done better than I would have done it. And then there was things that I saw that, kind of how God made me
Yeah.
that, to grow the business. I mean, it's my personality to be, out in the community and
Yeah.
lots of ideas when I was 15
Yeah.
about how to grow it.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of that, a long time ago.
Which I think is huge, Scott. And I want our listeners, our viewers to notice that is, and I've used this illustration before with someone. I had a friend who was their core calling was a teacher guardian. And I remember them coming up to me and trying to really sense what God's call was on their life. And they were talking to me about how, they always took really, really detailed notes of people's sermons, and they always found themselves at home kind of, taking those notes and putting together their own thoughts and their sermons and teaching plans. And they were like, everybody does that. And I was like, no, they don't. Right? Like not everybody thinks about how you could teach something. And, I was trying to help them get the understanding around like looking at the things that for you watching and listening, you could feel like, well, that's just what I do. And everybody does that. But realizing, no, they don't. Like not everybody has a billion ideas of how to grow and expand a business and put that together. But for you, before you had any kind of college degrees or you had your own company or anything, like that's how God created your brain to work. And I think it's really cool that they placed you in a family situation where you were able to see the ins and outs of that. And so the pioneering apostolic gift is one of the ones that's impacted or unpacked in Ephesians chapter 4. But what I want to do right now, before we jump into more of your story, I want to take a minute. I want to share with you guys, we're going to do these in these breakdown videos and these breakdown episodes where we're looking at the fivefold calling as we unpack it in Spiritual DNA 2.0. And I want to share with you one of the breakout videos we have that's going to just unpack the virtues and vices or the best of or the blind spots for the apostolic pioneering role from Ephesians chapter 4, verse 11. Check out this video right now. All right, you apostolic pioneers, you crazy entrepreneur, future creating 7% of the population folks, what is up? You are a pioneer. You are a champion of aligning people with resources to win, to achieve the objective. You might be an Enneagram 3. There could be some connection there with a 7 or potentially an 8. Okay, you'll see how some of these assessments begin to come together. And like I told you in this session about the fivefold, right, is with this calling, this is the foundational one, which I want you to filter all the rest of your results in. That's why I'm pulling in some of the Enneagram stuff so you can see how it equips you, okay? As a pioneer apostle, your approach to life is this: anything is possible. One of the cool things is, like all of the callings, Jesus was the perfect example of this. Jesus was the sent one, right? Sent from heaven to earth. And so if you're looking for a mentor and how to be an amazing pioneer apostle, it's Jesus, okay? And that's not a Sunday school answer. It's just the deal, okay? As a pioneer apostle, you're always seeking to find the quickest, fastest, and most efficient way to do things. You value outside the box thinking, and you're always looking for new frontiers. You're looking for blue ocean ideas. You want to build on the ideas of old. You want something fresh. You want something new. You want to create the future. And at your best, you do just that. You have a courage to make difficult decisions and prioritize vision. As a pioneer, you have a strategic, like almost military-like thinking once an objective is agreed upon. Now, one of the things that's beautiful about that courage is that if there's a volume knob on the pioneer apostle voice, it's cranked to 10. Actually, sometimes it might go to 11, okay? Spinal Tap reference, thank you very much. Anyway, you as a pioneer apostle, you have a capacity to align resources and people to make things happen. And here's the deal. If you as a pioneer apostle want to get amazing things accomplished in life, connect with a creative prophet. The connection of the apostle prophet together is amazing in what can be accomplished. Just that's a bonus thing right there. Now listen, is every one of the callings and every one of the voices, there's some virtues and vices. There's some blind spot. Sometimes the pioneer apostles can be a little arrogant, okay, a little me focused, and we got to watch that. And one of the things that is interesting about this calling is that I've heard people explain the apostle pioneers. If you look at a hand, the apostle pioneer is kind of like the thumb. The thumb is the only digit, or whatever you're going to call it, on a hand, right, that can touch all the other fingers. Probably never thought about that. You can use that at your next, your next party and be like, hey, did you guys know this? So here's the deal. Sometimes if you're an apostle pioneer and you're the only, finger on the hand that can do this, you begin thinking like, I'm so special. You're not. You're just a thumb, and that's unique, because if you cut off all these fingers, you're not doing much except giving people thumbs up the rest of your life, okay? So you've got to watch out that you don't become me-focused, that there's still a humility that comes across. Sometimes prophet or apostle pioneers can get quickly frustrated when things aren't moving as fast as you want them to, or you feel like you're spinning your wheels in sometimes. And what can happen in that is you can almost have like back me or fight me type of mentality, and that's challenging in relationships and something that we got to be careful of. So, pioneer apostles, you're so necessary and so needed, because here's the deal. I believe the future is yet to be created. And right now, that future, it's on the mind and the heart of God. And what he's going to do for you pioneer apostles is he's going to allow you, if you'll humbly ask him, he's going to let you borrow his ideas. And as you step forward with your courage and your vision, it will be leaders like you that create the future that we live in. And we're back. It's good to be back from the video there, breaking down some of the best and the, not worst, but blind spots of the pioneering voice. So, Scott, let me throw a couple of these out that were in the video there, where it talks about a pioneer apostle has an anything is possible thinking, right? They always have a vision for a new future, and they value outside the box thinking. One of the other things that we talk about there is if there was a volume knob on the pioneering voice, it'd be up to 11, right? Like,
right.
It's a loud, strong voice of leadership and innovation. How do you see that at work in your life?
Well, I told my girls this morning on the way to school, they asked me, what am I looking forward to today or this week? And there are always things in your week that you look forward to and things that maybe you don't look forward to. But the part that I always look forward to is the part where I get to paint the picture. And so I always view business like art, and if I'm really in God's lane of who He called me to be, I'm painting. And so painting to me is using my creativity to start a business or to add on to a business or to grow a business. And we're working on a strictly labor company. If you've noticed in America today that labor is a problem. Yeah. And we can't get help in a lot of the businesses we're involved in. And, and God always kind of puts these pieces around you, and we're forming a labor company right now that we think we have a ton of work to bring a whole bunch of people in, mostly Hispanics, legally to work. Yeah. Which gives people a job. Yeah. Helps our businesses. To me, it glorifies God all the way around. Yeah. And, I got to put that together yesterday, so that's the part that
lights you up.
Yeah.
So we got a problem in business, a problem in society. Right. You got to find a way to bring good, and you're looking at innovative, outside the box way that I think we can put this together and make this thing happen. And it just makes sense in your brain. And like you're saying, you're to paint the picture and make it happen. Right. Talk about, kind of a little bit about what you guys do, like the company that you've created that allows you to do some of that, because I think that's been a cool part that I got to see is you were in more like wealth management, just kind of being a financial advisor, if you will. And then could you take us back maybe to the point where we were going through DNA and you were like, wait a second, I don't think I'm actually a rebel here. I think God's called me to be a little more rogue. I'm supposed to pioneer something new. Take us back to that a little bit.
So what you call huddle, which I loved, was really enlightening to me because, we dove into, who I was and the rest of the guys in the group
Yeah.
to which we all have gifts.
Yep.
And so, and just, where were we and where does God really want me?
Yeah.
And to me, where it became idiot proof to me was I was frustrated in almost every direction I turned.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't my call. And, I had a lot of training, all the, God uses your history too. So I had a lot of training around investments, and investments are investments, whether it's a private company or a public company, and it's still an investment. So we started a fund 6 years ago, and we've, we own 14 different businesses in there today, and it's pushing 50 million. And, we're got lots of people that are working for us, and, and so we're blessing our shareholders.
Yeah.
We're blessing the people that work for us, and, and it just, and I'm super excited about where God's taking the whole thing, so.
Well, I know one of the things that's a frustrating point for apostolic pioneers is when they feel like they or the organization they're a part of is spinning their wheels. They're not making progress. They're not moving forward. And like I said, I know a lot of our conversations for you were like, you would see these issues that the company would have.
This seemed black and white.
Yeah. Like
this super simple.
This is a chip shot here.
Right.
And it's wasting money. It's wasting resources. It's wasting opportunity. And it drove you nuts.
Drove me crazy.
And you weren't you didn't have the place at the table to say, I'm going to make, like, I want the responsibility to make the call to make it happen.
Right.
But you took a big risk. Bet on yourself, right? And said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start my own deal.
Right.
And one of the things that I think is it's good to be honest about this is coming to a place of discovering who God's created us to be, and then going after that. There's a lot of inner peace that comes from it. Like, I know where God's got me. I know I've got the gifts and abilities to go after this, but it does not guarantee that everything goes perfect, does it?
Man, I would tell you that it felt like everything was on fire.
Yeah.
For real. I mean, it was, when you started, there was a new problem in a new box, and, and probably solving problems I can do, but it isn't what I love to do.
Sure.
And who God made me to be. So you need to surround yourself with people who are good at the parts and pieces of operations and skills I don't have.
Yeah.
And you just need to surround yourself with people that are gifted in their own way.
Yeah.
And we've assembled that team now, and which, is a blessing for them and a blessing for me. And, and the machine's running well now, but 6 years, there was a lot that was very stressful, and because you do take a lot of risk to put yourself out there like that.
Would you say this guy, if you go back, I mean, I can remember us, sitting around the fire pit in your backyard, as you're processing through some of the decisions to pioneer this effort in this company and go for it, is if we could go back to that day right now, and I would say, Scott, listen, if you push this button, you can take, turn right, and you go down this pioneering path of your own company, everything you're doing. But listen, the first 4.5, 5 years, like, you're going to be, your hair's on fire, right? You're putting fires out everywhere. Or turn left, stay right where you are, let somebody else take the risk, let somebody else make the decisions, like, let somebody else's hair be on fire. Like, you go back to that moment right now, right or left. Like, do you?
I still light my hair on fire. Now, if you ask my wife, she'd probably shoot me. But because, your wife walks with you too.
Yeah.
So, and she did. She was faithful and walked through that with me. But it was hard. It was hard emotionally on both of us.
Yeah.
But I know that's where God wanted me. I can tell you, even in the middle of the fire.
Yeah.
I trusted him that this was something that he wanted me to do.
Yeah.
Didn't say it was going to be easy.
Yeah.
So I always kind of felt like, and we're starting to see the fruit of that now. Yeah. And so I, super stoked for where it's going.
And what does that feel like to know I stepped into God's call, I bet on myself, I came through the fire, but I had this vision, right? I have this outside the box thinking. I have innovative ways that I want to approach this field that I'm in, right? And it's starting to work. What's that feel like?
Well, so there's, it doesn't mean that you didn't have doubt in the middle,
right?
Too. There were a lot of conversations I had with the big guy, and we would talk about, hey, where are you? I mean, it'd be nice to have some of this behind me. But, slowly but surely was faithful and closed those doors. And, and to me, there was confirmation that I am on the right path.
Yeah.
And that is, and I think I don't care what your walk is or what your gifting is. I mean, I think all of us just want to be on the right path.
Yeah.
The path God called us to be on.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if it's apostolic or whatever gifting it is. I think we want to be on, everybody wants to be on the right path.
No doubt.
And when you are, there's a certain amount of just genuine peace that comes with that. So.
Well, I love what you said, and we're going to talk about this actually in the next episode. We sit down with Daron Cooper, who's going to talk about the prophetic creative role. And we talk in there, Scott, about that there's a vertical and horizontal access with all of these callings. And then the number one is that vertical, is my connection to the Lord, the connection to the relationship, and the calling comes from Him. But if that's not what I'm drawing my strength, my peace, my guidance, the vision from, like the horizontal start, the relational earthly part can get a little haywire. Mm-hmm. And it's so important, like I think you said there, to have that strong connection on the vertical, because you need it through the battles, you need it through the questioning, you need it for the courage, and it's got to be core, it's got to be foundational.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Let's talk about it real quick. We'll turn the corner of this. Just some blind spots, right? And here's a couple blind spots to the apostolic pioneering voice, right? They can be accused of appearing arrogant or a little me focused. Yes or true? Yes or no?
True. Why are you looking at me that
way? How about this one? They get frustrated when it seems like people just don't get it.
Very true.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Here's another one. They can drive too far, too fast, with a little bit of an insensitivity to the needs of others. What about that?
That's a tough one. I mean, I have to check myself on that one, because I don't want to be, I have 4 girls and they need a lot of love, and I want that. If you begin with the end in mind, yes. I want to be a loving father. It's pretty far up there for me. So, but that doesn't mean that you can't find yourself on the train running pretty fast.
Yeah.
Where you got to check yourself. Yeah. So I think it's there.
Because for you see where you're going. Mm-hmm. You're probably, this is one thing that I do think there is some apostolic. Because I told people, I feel like sometimes I live about 2 years in the future. Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing for you've got vision for where you're going in 2024, 2025. Right. Mm-hmm. And if not everybody's at that pace, right? Sometimes you got to tap the brakes and make sure people are still on the train.
Live in the present, right?
Yeah. What's been a joy for me to watch, Scott, is you to step into that role, to see the team that you're building here, the quality people that you're bringing together to see this vision go forward. And one of the things that what I love too is that you do always have a vision for not just how this impacts you, but for the good that you guys can do. And you're always looking for that, because I think that's such a cool thing, is that people that have an apostolic pioneering gift is, and I say this all the time on the podcast, is like God has ideas, right, that are currently on His heart and on His mind, and He's looking for people that He can trust with His ideas to create the future that's on His heart, right? Mm-hmm. And oftentimes He taps the shoulder of an apostolic pioneer who might be ambitious, crazy, or humble and obedient enough to jump off the cliff and really go for it. Mm. What's an encouragement you would give, Scott? Maybe there's somebody in they're back at that fireside moment like you and I were, where they're agitated. Seems like the company or their business or their team is spinning their wheels. They're wasting their time, and they kind of feel like they're always hitting their head against a ceiling of leadership or of something, and they're sensing like, what, I've took spiritual DNA 2.0, and I think this may be who God's calling me to be. What's a word of encouragement you'd give them?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us kind of know deep down, once you really start to unpack that, kind of who God made you to be, and it'll resonate with truth.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you when we sat and really talked about it, when you asked me the question of what would it be like if you ran your own thing? That question, how does that sit with you? And so to me, that's are you okay with the decision making and the responsibility that goes with that, and the culture that you set, and the impact you're making on somebody's life? So to me, it's about asking yourself those questions. How does that resonate with you in your heart and in your spirit? And so, is that something that feels freeing? or is that something that feels too scary? Or there's a book that talks about lion chasing. Is it Mark Batterson? Lion in the Pit on a Snowy Day.
Yep.
I love that book because it's about, to me, it's about the entrepreneur in the Lord's world. And do you see yourself as a lion chaser? I mean, honestly.
That's good, Scott.
I always kind of, that resonates with me.
Yeah. So you're looking for those moments that, in those kind of questions, you're looking for that resonation, that where it resonates to the kind of depths of your soul. Like, that's true for me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And if you have that moment, you got to obey it.
You got to listen. Yeah. And I mean, as much as it's scary, and that doesn't mean you do it tomorrow, but you lay the groundwork to how you're going to do it. Yeah. And I even find, like, in spots like today's struggle is I look at a business I'm involved in today, and the culture is not mine, which is what I believe is from God. And I look at, and I've allowed another leader to put his culture in there, and it's not flowing. And I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying it's not lined up with where I think God wants it.
Yeah.
And so the culture that I think God gives us is what he wants.
Yeah.
And when it's not all lined up, it doesn't flow right. And I mean that by how you treat the people that work there. And that's really super important to me. And if you don't honor that, God reminds you, says, we got to go fix that.
Yeah.
So it's a cool walk.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
I love it, Scott. And if that resonates with you, I want you to dig deeper, get compassionately curious of who God's created you to be, because there is a future that needs to be created, and it's going to be spearheaded by apostle pioneers that lead with the heart of God, to see God's will be done in His kingdom come in every sphere, right? Every company, every part of culture. And so, Scott, you've done that. It's a joy to be your friend, to watch you walk it out. Thanks for spending the time with us on the podcast today. And until we talk to you next time, remember these three things: God's for you, not against you. He's near you, not far from you. And He's created you on purpose and for a purpose. Talk to you guys next time.